welcome to the HTDOC, the show where we talk about how to do online church. I'm Reverend Jim Keat, the digital minister at the Riverside Church and the director of online innovation at Convergence. And today I am talking with Reverend Bethany Peerbolte. I just realized I've never actually said your last name out loud. Is that how I pronounce your last name?
That's it. You got it.
I assumed it's not like Peerbolte or Peerbolte or
No,
it could be.
You got it. You got it.
Reverend Bethany Peerbolte, the associate pastor at the First Presbyterian Church of Birmingham, just outside of Detroit in Michigan, right around this area or so, I think.
Down a little bit, yeah.
Yep. But if you might know her in that context at the church, but most people on the internet probably just know you as Rev Bethany, because that's what you go under on TikTok and in all the places. Because in addition to the title you hold and the role you have at the church, I've seen you call yourself a digital minister. That's a fun little mantle to carry.
Yeah, that is, I think the first people started calling me a TikTok pastor, and I was like, is that a thing? That's weird. And then like digital ministry is like definitely something that I do and I love. And honestly, a lot of pastors are burning out from COVID. It probably saved me from burnout, because it's been this new amazing way to minister into the world.
So say a bit more about how you stumbled into this world of digital ministry. We could talk about your role as an associate pastor in youth ministry. I know you are quite an expert in those areas as well. But for this conversation, let's stick to that slice of digital ministry.
Yeah.
How did you stumble into this thing?
I mean, essentially, like, quintessential youth pastor, right? So just kind of doing the things and getting ordained and whatever. My kids start showing up to youth group doing these like dances, and I'm like, what is going on? And so I got on TikTok just to be like, I have to figure out what's happening so that I can at least respond to whatever this is. About a year later, we were in COVID, and I was doing checkups on my kids, just calling around, seeing how things are going. And one of the moms said, we had an interesting conversation at dinner last night, and our child was talking about they were worried about going to hell and that they were a lukewarm Christian. And I was like, those are words. Like, lukewarm Christian is not a Presbyterian PCUSA word. I was like, where did she hear that? And they're like, I think it was on TikTok. So, like, I've been on TikTok for a while, and I was like, okay, let me see what, like, Christian TikTok is. So I searched around a little bit, and it was alarming. I mean, it was very emotionally manipulative. It was like people crying, like, you have to give your life to God now. And I was like, wow, this is not what I was hoping my kids were interacting with on TikTok. So I decided to just make a couple silly videos just to say people, like, God loves you. Like, that is the basic message of the gospel. You are worthy, you are loved, and it took off. Like, people just responded to that message so much. And I was like, okay, now I've got to like make more videos, because people are telling me they need to be reminded that they're loved every day. So here we go. Getting questions about lots of things, and my youth engaging with me in ways that they've never engaged with me before, asking questions when they're usually the silent types in class. So it's just kind of like something is happening here, and I need to keep putting the energy into it to follow what is happening here.
I love every bit of that. I just love the intentional ethnography of a youth pastor who says, where are my students and how can I be in the spaces where they're showing up in the world? And then just noticing how that digital terrain exists and what messages are being, propagated there, and saying, wait a minute, that doesn't represent what I understand Christianity to be. Your description of Christian TikTok in that early glimpse sounds a lot like what too much of Christianity in the world is also saying, but I just love it's like, I can bring something in here that's different. And it's just interesting how you entered into it with your youth group in mind. But I mean, I'm pretty sure the 300,000 plus people who follow you on TikTok are not all students in your youth ministry anymore.
No, no, they are not. I very quickly realized that I call them theological deserts. There are these places where I was trying to connect people with churches that would love on them, and the closest church that would do that is 4 hours away, a 4-hour drive away. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't expect that person to go to church, even once a month with 4 hours away. So I was like, how do I, we're online because of COVID. So I guess like come to our church and watch our services and, But then I was thinking like, oh, what about the Bible studies and the coffee hours and the other things that these people aren't going to get involved with because they're far away? And then my mind just kind of went to like, how do we create kind of an online campus for our church? And how do I help these followers that are in these deserts be able to interact with Christians that are affirming and are going to love on them every day and be there for them and support them exactly as they are without having to put an identity on the shelf.
That's amazing. That's all that from just making a few silly TikToks to let people know that God loves them. And now it's led to all of this.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I am humbled and overwhelmed and shocked every day about where I am right now.
So we're gonna really dive in, just because selfishly I want to hear more about the whole online community things that you are cooking up. You just talked a bit about online campus, some of the stuff you're thinking at church and in your own work. But before we totally shift to that, what would you say to a faith leader or a pastor who's just now considering trying TikTok as a part of their ministry? What advice would you give them? What would you kind of recommend? How could someone who says, okay, this TikTok thing, I guess it's not just, it might be sticking around for a while. What would you say to them if they're thinking about dipping their toe into that water?
I mean, TikTok specifically, I would say, spend a couple days watching what the culture is like, and you will get inspiration. You will get ideas of like, oh, I can use that sound to do this, and I can say this thing, and oh, I want to respond to how that video comes across. You will get ideas because the Spirit is there in TikTok, and the Spirit needs people to be working there. But then just general digital ministry, this is where people are. And if the church wants to be alive anytime in the future, we really need to start taking this seriously and reaching people where they already are. There are lots of people online that need us, and if that's the only way that we can get to them, then that's the way we need to get to them.
I don't know why I had this skepticism around TikTok in its early days. I can technically claim to be an OG user. I was talking to Sammy Kelly about this the other week. Back when it was Musical.ly, I had an account because my niece got me signed up one Christmas, and we made some, videos together or something, and then I forgot about it. And then I was like, I'm not going to do dances on TikTok. And it was seeing one of my colleagues at Riverside who said, no, Jim, this is where culture is being created right now. And then seeing what you were doing, I'm like, whoa, there's a whole world of people who just need this kind of content. And so I was like, okay, I got to take this thing seriously. And I've discovered, yes, you have to be where the people are. And so many of the people who I've encountered on TikTok are not the typical online people I encounter in my other religious spaces. It's not the people who follow us on Facebook or the people who come to our online service. It's this whole crowd of people who just didn't know that this kind of faith leaders existed in the world. So it is that kind of desert experience for so many people.
I'm surprised how many people are shocked that I'm a female pastor. And I'm like, this has been many years, people. Why is this a shock? But, I mean, I grew up in a conservative church, so I understand. Like, I didn't meet my first female pastor till I was in my 20s. So, that alone is shocking to some people. Yeah. And if that's shocking, then, you can only imagine what, PCUSA pastor in the South looks like to some people who are like, wow, breath of fresh air that you can be a Christian and believe in that way.
So someone watching this, someone considering TikTok, a pastor, a faith leader, they're like, okay, I'm going to do it. And they start making TikTok videos. They take a few days, weeks to get to know the space. They start hitting that red button and recording a few of their own. But they don't really see it take off, so to speak. What should they do? How much of this is you just got to keep making stuff? Are there any specific tactics you've picked up over the past almost 2 years now? Hashtags, trends, what kind of stuff should be in people's minds?
There are definitely best practices, and unfortunately, as the algorithm changes, sometimes those best practices adjust as well. There are TikTok coaches that you can follow on TikTok that will give advice and tell you when trends are up and coming. So I follow a couple of the TikTok coaches. You can just search TikTok coach and find some people who have a lot of followers. I would say the best thing you can do is at the very beginning post a lot of different things and all over the place, and eventually you'll find your niche. You'll find the kind of people who are responding to your stuff. And once you find those people, then you can go into pastor mode and be like, what do these people need? okay, these people are they're in conservative deserts, so I need to talk about this other theology. I need to talk about these scriptures. I need to, that's the kind of stuff you start realizing. Just as a pastor, you already know how to serve people and what people need spiritually. You just need to figure out what people are going to respond to your stuff online. And if you have a phone in your bedroom, that is great. Like, that's all I use is my iPhone. And sometimes there's this balance between like sleek and authentic. And so some people really respond to the like no makeup, messy hair, I just have to say this to you videos. And some people are there for like the well edited ones. So you just kind of get to know like who are your people and learn how to serve them.
At Riverside, we just keep throwing all the spaghetti against the wall to see what sticks in our TikTok approach. So I'd make a lot of the content for our account, but then I have three of our other clergy who make consistent content. So there's a diverse, even approach. Some of them are more well edited that I'll make. And sometimes those get some decent engagement. Sometimes they don't at all. Other times I'm just like, I'm going to just take my phone and my Bible and do a little thing for 15 seconds. And it's like, how did that one get hundreds of thousands of views? Okay, I don't know.
There's no real rhyme or reason to it. I do find that like things that are lighthearted do pretty well. Things that are topical. So I did a couple about like Little Nas X's video that came out. Those were they were shareable, right? So that was something that people were already talking about, and then someone saw the video and was like, "Oh, here's another pastor saying this other thing," and they send it to a couple people. So being aware of those kind of moments, But as a pastor, you do kind of have to know what's going on in the world. So just translate that on a different format. 3 hashtags is what I use. I have heard that capitalizing the letters after every one you do, you have to type all the words out, but that helps with people who has text to speak that are blind, that are able to read those hashtags a little bit better. Their devices can read them better. But there's ways to caption your videos. I mean, it's really accessible. And easy to do. It's just clicking a couple buttons. The editing tools within the whole app is really nice.
I have fully gone from my TikTok skepticism to a TikTok evangelist because I do think it like you said, it's where the people are right now, and the role of the church. Just, whether you hear it from Jesus or you watched The Little Mermaid as a kid, I want to be where the people are. That's what the church is always supposed to do. And TikTok is definitely one of the places where the people are. And it's unique because it's an editing suite right here in your phone. You don't have to use an external editor. You just hit a button, talk, hit a button, publish. So it lets you create the content. And it's probably the best distribution system on the internet right now. People will find your content with you just posting it. You don't have to do the whole now tweet it and put it on Facebook and send an email about it. Like the platform does the distribution for you. Well, it can. It doesn't always, but sometimes things can really spike and
yeah, it gets wonky. Like I've been taking a little bit of a break to focus on Tapestry, and I can tell that I'm not getting the views that I used to because TikTok doesn't think I'm an active creator. Because I haven't posted something in a week. So, like, some of those games you do kind of have to play, like, posting once a day is really good. Some people say post 3 times a day. I couldn't do it. I did it for, like, 2 weeks, and I was like, I can't do that anymore. That's way too much. But, yeah, the algorithm, you got to play around with it, listen to the coaches on what they're seeing. They're getting lots of feedback from their followers on what's happening. And you can get a sense of, like, okay, TikTok is now favoring original sounds or this kind of thing, and so you can kind of catch on and play the game as much as you want to.
I just think it's hilarious that 2 years ago you didn't even have the app on your phone, and now you just said the sentence that you did about all of these.
Yeah.
Where was this in seminary, by the way? You've just totally have like an advanced certificate from COVID era of TikTok now. Yeah.
Yeah, digital ministry wasn't even like on the palette of seminary when I was there. Like,
oh, it didn't even exist.
No.
Yeah. Wow. Which is a whole other thing we could talk about. But I want to talk about Tapestry. You mentioned it, this online community you've developed that really grew out of the TikTok community that you saw kind of springing up with the content you were creating and the type of just people who were resonating with that. So this is what I was excited to talk about TikTok because I just am obsessed and you are an expert. But I think these digital communities is really where I've seen your energy being focused lately. So talk a bit about digital communities, Tapestry. What is Tapestry? Why did you start it? How does it work? Give us just kind of the overview of that baby.
Yeah, so I'll give you where we are now, and then we can talk about how we got there. So right now, Tapestry is a ministry that we have a private Facebook group where I monitor who comes in and make sure that everyone is there that knows that we're an affirming community, that we're there to support, so that it's safe to use names and pronouns or whatever you want to talk about, that people can really come there as themselves, and as a space of searching and questioning. So if people are not quite on board with Christianity, they can come there and be like, hey, this is a weird thing. And we can talk about, what it is and why the tradition is the way it is. From that group, we have Tuesday night Bible studies. We've done book studies. We've read through a book together. We've just done devotionals. Just show up. In Advent, we're going to read a chapter of Luke every day. And so by Christmas, we'll have read through Luke. Just kind of helping each other kind of re-engage with faith, learning about each other's stories, the problems that they're facing at work and at home. Over Thanksgiving, people wanted the Zoom to be open because if their family was having problems, they wanted to be able to pop in and maybe see some other people in the community, so they could take a break from their families. It was just so sweet. And then I've also been offering pastoral care appointments, which is actually funny because I wasn't getting anybody for a little while, and then they were like, well, what's a pastoral care appointment? I was like, oh my gosh, of course you have no idea what this is. So then I was like, it's literally, I'm just like, what, if you want to talk to me one-on-one, like if you have joy or a grief or a scripture, like just anything, let me just sit with you for 45 minutes and let's chat. But I was like, duh, Bethany, they don't know what that is. Because these are people who are either under-churched or not churched at all, or we're in like evangelical settings where the pastor isn't always available for those kinds of things. So it's been really nice to see how much love and true care can be given when we've only ever met each other through a screen. And I think COVID has helped us kind of understand that community is possible. I know there's still lots of people who, I prefer to be in the church and I want to see people in person. Yes, absolutely. There is something to sharing energy when you are in the same room with someone. But if these people have no other option and they are in the middle of these deserts where people aren't going to love them the way that they are, then this is what we can do. And we can do true care and true Christian love for one another, even if it's just, and I hate even saying but even through a digital platform, it is possible to have true community.
I obviously love everything about this because that's who I am and what I do, but who wouldn't love everything about this? When the way you described what it is, book studies, scripture, pastoral care, even though you have to define what that means because no one knows what that means, and that alone is fantastic and says a lot. Space during a holiday to connect with people when you need a community. If this was happening in the 20 years ago, it would have been happening revolving around some physical location, and that description sort of said, oh cool, you started a church. But it's all happening in this pure 100% online space. But that's what it is. This isn't just like some little I started a YouTube channel. This is like a legitimate community of people who are journeying together and learning and growing in their faith and their life. I just love it all. I don't know how to say anymore, but I just think you don't see enough examples of what does it mean to do quote online church, and you just described it. It's not like we're a physical church and we do this thing. It's like, no, what if we just made the thing from the ground up on the internet? What would it be? How would it look? What language do we need to use? How do we organize this thing? Oh,
yeah. I mean, the current problem is that I do have some members of Tapestry who are in Europe. Well, the Bible study times are kind of difficult for them to make. So what a wonderful problem to have, to be like, how do I minister to somebody who's in a completely different time zone than me? How do I create space? But they're more than happy to just support and post and be with us in the way that they can. But I am trying to think, how do I give them what these other people have, which is, face-to-face online Bible studies. Just cool problems.
And I love that it's not this whoa, I've never thought about doing a Bible study before. It's just the kinds of things that churches have always done. You're just being intentional about doing them in these online spaces.
Yeah.
You didn't have to invent some new fancy thing. You didn't have to get like, okay, now I need, some great new technology. No, I'm just using what we all have. Zoom,
Yeah.
Facebook, these things that are, whether we like them or not, built into the infrastructure of our digital lives. You're being where the people are, and you're just finding ways for people to have these connections with one another and with God along the way. I mean, isn't that just what a pastor is supposed to do? So
Yeah, it really is. And the questions that I get on TikTok were the ones I always thought I would get as a pastor, and I never got, because there's something to the anonymity of the internet that allows people to ask the questions that they would think is like a stupid question. Yes, you also have the anonymity of like the trolls, but I love that people are asking me like, what does your collar mean? Like, why do you wear a stole? Like, yes, these are great questions. Let's talk about them. But no one would ever ask in person because they don't really want to be like, Pastor, I don't understand your clothing.
yes, like pastoral care. It's like, what does that word mean? Like, there's this different kind of space for honesty, it seems, in these digital places. Yeah, I love that. So what's next? Where do you see this? Whether it's Tapestry or you just think of digital communities in general, what else? What's coming up? How? Show us behind the curtain. What's the secret sauce? I don't know. Just keep going.
I mean, the truth of it is, if you would have asked me that 3 months ago, I wouldn't have told you this. But so I don't know. But what I hope it will happen, the Tapestry is funded through Patreon. So most of the people who are in that are pledging essentially monthly to the ministry, which has helped me be able to justify putting aside more time for them and to put those energies into it. A lot of it is copy and paste from Bible studies that I'm doing at church, so it's really not like a huge time suck, but I would love to find that good balance of like what's in-person ministry that I'm at church and what's online. I have a couple members from my church who are going to join the Bible study, so kind of see what that looks like to have people who know me in person also engaging in that way, and does it work the same? The dream is for me to sell everything, buy an RV, and travel around the country and host these things every night, and whoever shows up in person wherever I am shows up in person wherever I am. Yes, exactly. That's the dream right there. Yeah. Yeah,
I'll join you.
I was in seminary, and there was a guy, virtual reality was just coming out, and there was a pastor who was doing a virtual reality room and doing church, and he was in an RV and traveling around, and everyone was like, this is ridiculous, this is so stupid, how could you, blah, blah. And there was a part of me that kind of went like, that's a really cool life, that he's able to travel around to wherever he wants to go and still host church on Sundays and show up and baptize and do communion in person with people who he doesn't know, but he meets in person for the first time. And like, there's just something inside of me that said, this is really cool. And so now that I see this developing, I'm like, okay, God, I see where you're working, planting seeds, growing flowers. I see it. Like, just, I promise to keep taking the steps if you promise to keep planting the passions and the energy.
I obviously love that because I have quite the affinity for campers and RVs and Airstreams and all that. So let me know when you're looking at what model to buy. I'd love to talk you through that too. I'm biased towards Airstream as an official Airstream ambassador, but there's some other good brands. Okay. So I'm guessing most pastors watching this might not be ready to sell everything and move into an RV just yet, but they probably are interested in intentional online communities for their communities of faith that are typically, historically, an in-person brick and mortar. Sticks and bricks is the language in the RV world. But what would you say, what advice would you give to a church or a faith leader who's looking to create an intentional online community?
So I know at my church and many of the churches around here, as we were going into lockdown, we had to look at who our members were and say, who's going to be lonely, who's going to need some things, and we had to take kind of stock of how we could help them. As we are kind of developing this new normal, we have to remember that our members have learned to do church in a new way as well. So what are they loving? Are they loving showing up to church on Sunday morning online? Are they loving being able to do council meetings on Zoom? Are they like, what is really, really working? What has worked for your community? And keep doing that, because we have to honor the experience of the people that have joined us during this time, as well as honoring the experience of the people who want to get back in person. So pay attention to what people are really loving and missing, and are we going to do this again, and can we do that? And try to always, when you're planning something new, like, how could we make this available to somebody who is going to stay home? You know, if we're having a live nativity, what can we do? Well, we could take pictures of the kids, and we can take some video and put a little video together and send it out. Like, it's not the experience, but it at least honors that, like, some people aren't going to be able to come in person to this thing. And then maybe we make something that you can only experience online, that you're not going to be in person for at all. It's just kind of keeping them in your mind. You know, we have pastors of like special needs, and pastors of youth, and pastors of children, because their job is to keep these people, the children and the youth, in mind. How do we serve them? You need to have somebody who's saying, well, how do we do this for the person who's at home? Because I don't think you need to do anything different than what you're already doing. Whatever your church is already doing is wonderful. It's why your church is still around. And do that for people who are farther away from you. And I think you'll find some really great experiences.
Yeah, and I think the impulse might be for people to say, okay, let me go start a new thing. Let me go start a new online platform or group. But, you know, even what you just described is look at the community you already have and what do they need, which is what you did with Tapestry. You didn't say, okay, internet, I'm going to start this thing called Tapestry. You said, I'm going to play with TikTok. Whoa, this is really going somewhere. Whoa, there's people here who are needing something more. Let me create a structure that can help make that more sustainable for all of us. So it's the same kind of process of just being aware of what's happening around you with the people you're already connected to and what do they need. And right now, I think we all are more aware that these online spaces have been and will continue to be a need we have. So how do we just be intentional about what might be our next contextual step? Yeah. Not everyone might do the same thing as everyone else, and that's the point. We shouldn't. We need to ask, what can we learn from them and what works where I am?
Yeah, you know, we say baby steps, right? Like, so everything that I did was just like one step. I saw a problem, I made a video, met some people, I made a space, and, you know, it's just been baby steps. But when you think of how babies actually take steps, they're like gung-ho, they're like big steps forward, they're like, I'm going to fall on my face if nothing else. And I think those are the kind of baby steps. Like, yes, you need to see where you're going to go, but you need to go for it, because it is going to be amazing when you land that foot and you can make that next step. Because I never thought this was going to be where I'm at now, and I'm just super excited to see what the Spirit does with it in the next couple of months.
That is, I mean, I resonate a lot with that metaphor. I have a 16-month-old baby right now who's doing exactly that. So he has just started taking those steps, and he went from like, oh my God, he's standing on his feet. He just took 5 steps to now he will literally run across the house and around the room. And we're like, is he going to fall and bash into the table? He's just going.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do.
Yep.
Yeah. Baby steps, they might start, but before you know it, you got to go, and you got to just
go.
Risk it and try it, and know that, like a baby, you got a diaper on, so you'll land on your butt and you'll have some cushion, or you hopefully have some people. I wouldn't want to see a baby taking steps by themselves in the road. You know, there are safe places to take steps, but you want to have parents, grown-ups around. But yeah. I really dig this metaphor for a lot of selfish reasons. So, okay, we could talk about this stuff probably literally for hours, just because I love this stuff. I love hearing what you're doing. I love just talking with you about this stuff. But we have to play a game. This is what I do with everyone I talk to. We play a game. It's called There Can Only Be One.
Oh, no.
And this is a game where you will end up having chosen for you the perfect online platform for Rev Bethany. So you think you've been doing this work all these past years, but this game will actually give you the absolute perfect platform. So I've got all of these cards here, and I'm gonna put them together, and we're gonna do a little NCAA style tournament to see which one ends up victorious as Bethany Peerbolte's perfect social media online platform. So I'm just gonna pick 2 random ones, and you're gonna have to vote. Here we go. Oh, that's kind of fitting. Facebook Messenger versus WhatsApp. Which one's gonna stay?
Facebook Messenger.
All right. Bye WhatsApp. You're out. Okay. Discord versus Slack. I swear I'm picking these random, but they are kind of a good matchup.
Oh, Discord.
Ooh, all right. Bye-bye Slack. So much for that. Ooh, Zoom versus Snapchat.
Oh, Zoom.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't think that would be a question for you. Come on. Okay. Tumblr versus Facebook.
Facebook.
All right. We're getting somewhere. Ooh, TikTok versus YouTube.
Oh, no. I mean, I had to pick TikTok, but yeah, that's a hard one.
Oh, that is a tough one. That one's brutal. Oh, Twitch versus LinkedIn.
I literally know nothing about either one of these, but I'm going to say Twitch because I think LinkedIn is like just professional, right? Like,
yeah, there's some potential there, but
okay.
Instagram versus Pinterest.
I'll say Instagram.
Yeah, it's probably the smart choice. And the last matchup for this first round, Clubhouse versus Reddit.
Clubhouse.
Okay, so now we're down to the Elite Eight, and we're gonna see who ends up making it to the Final Four, and then into your official perfect online platform for all time. You didn't know it was this easy. It just takes
Can we just take the Final Four and create one of our own? Like
Ooh, that'd be interesting. We're gonna bring it down. We got Facebook Messenger versus TikTok. Okay, that kind of makes sense. We got Zoom versus Instagram.
Zoom.
Okay, yep, that's a good one. Okay, Discord versus Twitch. Hey, that's a fitting matchup. A lot of Twitch people have Discord communities.
Yeah, I'll do Discord for this one.
Okay, Discord it is. And our last here, Facebook versus Clubhouse.
Oh, shoot. I'm going to say Facebook just because I have this big philosophy of like, people are already there. Like, why mess with it?
So here's your Final Four.
Oh, man.
We're gonna do a couple matchups here to see who's gonna be the final one in your world. So let's bring it down. TikTok versus Discord.
TikTok.
Yep, saw that one coming. All right. And Zoom versus Facebook.
If I could only have one, I would pick Zoom.
Oh, wow. Okay. Here it is. Moment of truth. TikTok versus Zoom. There can only be one.
I'm picking Zoom. I know that's upset of the century, but I'm picking Zoom because I do feel like I need to see faces. Like, that was the thing I really didn't like about TikTok. I knew screen names and they kept coming in and asking me questions, but I didn't really get to know the people's story. And so Zoom allows me to at least, I know. I'm sorry.
I like that. I feel like even that your last matchup was like the platform that really helped you build a community to the space where you find that community going deeper.
Yeah.
That's a good,
Yeah.
I didn't realize this silly game would be so reflective. This is
so profound. Oh my gosh. Hopefully it doesn't get me kicked off of TikTok because I didn't choose it, but we'll see.
Oh, well, yeah. Ooh, the algorithms. Is the algorithm listening to this? Who knows?
Yeah, no, they
all-seeing
are always
algorithm.
listening.
Always. Bethany, I am so pumped to see just what's next for all the things you're making. I know it seems like you're having a few new TikTok videos that just came out, so maybe there's more coming over the Advent season. But whatever pace they come, I'm super pumped to see just the online content and communities that you create and curate, because they are definitely a gift to so many people, and they are an excellent example to so many other churches and faith leaders. So thank you for everything you stumbled into and for all the ways you keep throwing spaghetti against the wall.
Thank you for creating these kinds of things for people who are just like dabbling with it and wondering about it. You know, that cohort that I did with you was like, okay, like I can really do this, and we can like take a chance. So thank you for being someone who's just being a cheerleader for these kind of spaces. We really need it.
Anytime. I do it just for the silly games, let's be honest.
It's a good game.
All right, we'll talk with you more again about all this sometime, probably online. Talk to you then.
Okay, I'll see you there.